One Story. A 2017 report in the Atlas of Environmental Migration estimates that by 2050, roughly 200 million people will be displaced due to climate change and environmental impacts. The impacts of slow onset events like coastal erosion, rising sea levels, and melting glaciers are much harder to measure. In October 2018, more than 60 representatives from several regions across the world came to Girdwood, Alaska for a convening of First and Indigenous peoples on climate-forced displacement. Participants came from Alaska, Bangladesh, Louisiana, several Pacific Islands, and Washington State. This retreat was a unique space for Indigenous and First peoples, from Chivak, Alaska to Fiji, to discuss how climate change has decimated their communities, separated families, and upset the harmonious balance between those living on the land and the land itself.
In my community, we experience erosion, and from the erosion, our old landfill is being dumped into our river, contaminating our river. It's also creating crevices connecting to lakes that are also polluted and polluting our river.
We've been very mindful of droughts as a climate impact. There's been some really significant ones in the last 5 years. I think 2013 was a declared disaster, 2016 was another declared disaster, and it's been very early and often, it seems, we've been getting some droughts as the conversation about climate change becomes more and more elevated in the national discourse. Media attention, I think, is focused on the sea level rise issues, and because of their very slow, gradual nature, we've been able to observe it in small increments thus far.
As we got to know one another, regardless of where we came from, key themes came to the surface. Our homelands, cultures, and spiritual and traditional livelihoods are threatened by rising temperatures, sea level rise, flooding, erosion, landslides, ocean acidification, storms, and other disasters. We express the truth that Mother Earth is no longer in a period of climate change, but climate crisis. Our issues and concerns are similar, and there is added value in our collectiveness. And we condemn the role of the fossil fuel industry in causing the climate crisis and call for a phase-out of fossil fuels without infringing on the right to development of Indigenous nations.
You know, we need to address education to our communities now and talk to the people and what they really see in our lifestyle, these climate changes, how it's affecting us, and we need to document them, and we also need to relearn our way of survival because right now the climate change is affecting our food source.
I think vocalizing what's happening is important, at least to share with the rest of the world, and then just time.
While at the convening, a small group of participants worked tirelessly to produce a comprehensive declaration outlining the position of the conference attendees. The result was a 2-page declaration highlighting a shared platform agreed upon by all participants. We call on global leaders to take the necessary measures to ensure our full participation as First Peoples and Indigenous peoples in formulating, implementing, and monitoring mitigation and adaptation activities relating to the impacts of the climate crisis. On our state government to respect, uphold, and protect our rights as Indigenous peoples, as well as the rights that affect us as individual members of society, including but not limited to the rights of women, the rights of children, the rights of persons living with disabilities, economic, social and cultural rights, and civil and political rights. On our allies to continue supporting our efforts to advocate for our rights as First Peoples and Indigenous peoples, who are the first and most severely affected by the impacts of the climate crisis.
The power or the strength that will come for us to adapt is really from the people. To be able to connect our communities together as one voice, and to have our youth working together with our elders, and to be the voice of our people should be our youth. the action should be our youth, not just, not just anybody. It's everybody, but the youth should be upfront, talking and voicing the impacts of climate change in our communities.
We have one story, and we are building a movement. To read the full declaration, visit www.uusc.org/climateconvening.